Hello and welcome back. This is another fifth grade math video. In this video, we'll be focusing on how to add fractions with what we call unlike denominators, which means the denominators or the bottom number of the fractions are not the same. Okay, here is our first example. We're going to add 1 over 6 plus 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite these first because I prefer to look at my fractions with the numerator right on top of the denominator. So I'm going to write 1 over 6 plus 1/2. Okay, so here's what I advise that you do. We're going to need to turn these into equivalent fractions that have the same denominator. So we're going to need to turn that 2 into a 6 or that 6 into a 2 or some other number that will make them equivalent but will be the same. So what I suggest you do first is look at the smaller denominator, in this case, the 2. When you're looking at the smaller denominator, look and see if you can multiply that denominator to get the bigger one. And the answer for this problem would be yes, because we can do 2 times 3 to get 6. So that means we're going to use 6 as our common denominator. So that means I'm going to bring down the 1 over 6. I'm not changing that fraction, but I do have to change the second fraction. Since I have to multiply the denominator of 2 times 3 to get 6, I need to do the same thing to the top so that the fraction stays equivalent. So 1 times 3 is 3, and then 2 times 3 is 6. So now what I'm adding together is 1 over 6 plus 3 over 6. So now to add these, I'm going to keep 6 as the denominator. We don't actually add those numbers together because the size of the pieces doesn't change. But I have 1 plus 3. 1 piece plus 3 pieces equals 4 pieces. So the answer to this would be 4 over 6. Now, if you get an answer that can be simplified, you can always go ahead and simplify it. If you're not sure what I mean by simplifying, check out a previous video I've done on simplifying fractions. But once we look at this and we decide we can simplify it, we can divide both the top and the bottom by 2, which would give us 2/3. So this answer is correct. It's just not simplified. And this is the simplified correct answer. So 1/2 plus, or sorry, 1/6 plus 1/2 is equal to 2/3. Okay, here's the next one we're going to look at. It's 4 over 11 plus 3 over 4. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite these. 4 over 11 plus 3 over 4. Okay, so first thing is I need to find the smaller denominator and see if I can multiply it to get the bigger one. So 4 is the smaller one. Can I multiply 4 times something to get 11? The answer to that is no. I can't. That won't work. So if that doesn't work, we go to plan B. Plan B is where we multiply the denominators by each other. That means I would multiply the 11 times 4 and the 4 times 11. That's going to give me the same number on the bottom. Now, whatever I did to the bottom of each fraction, I have to do to the top of each fraction. So the first fraction, I multiplied the bottom by 4, so I need to multiply the top by 4. On the second fraction, I multiplied the bottom or the denominator by 11, so I need to multiply the top by 11 as well. 4 times 4 is 16. And 11 times 4 is 44. So that is my new fraction for the first fraction. It's equivalent to the first fraction that we had. It's just got a different denominator, so we can add them together. So I'm going to put a plus sign in between. 3 times 11 is 33. And then 4 times 11, again, is 44. So that's how they end up being the same. Now I'm ready to add, and I'm not going to change the denominator. I'm not adding those together. The size of the pieces in my fraction stays the same, so I'm not doing anything to that. But the number of pieces I have is going to get added together. So I'm going to do 16 plus 33, which would give me 49. Okay, so I ended up with 49 over 44. Now here comes the part where I could turn this improper fraction into a mixed number. And an improper fraction is a fraction that has a numerator that's bigger than the denominator. Check out previous videos I've done on this subject. So 44 fits into 49 one time, and I would have 5 left over. So if I were to simplify my original answer, which is correct, it's just not simplified, it would turn into this, 1 and 5 over 44. Okay, here's our next example, 3 over 8 plus 3 over 16. So I'm going to rewrite this, 3 over 8 plus 3 over 16. Okay, so now I need to start by looking at the smaller denominator, which is 8, and ask myself if I can multiply 8 times something to get 16. And the answer is yes, I can. I can multiply 8 times 2, and that will give me 16. So I'm going to multiply this times 2. And whatever I did to the bottom of a fraction, I have to do to the top to keep it equivalent. So I'm going to have to multiply the top of that fraction by 2 as well. I don't have to change the second fraction because it's already over 16. So 3 times 2 is 6, and 8 times 2 is 16. So that first fraction is going to change into 6 over 16. And then I'm going to add the 3 over 16. Okay, again, when I'm adding, I don't add the denominators. Those stay the same. It's just going to be over 16. And then 6 plus 3 is 9. Okay, so now I just need to look at it and see if I can simplify it. I don't think that I can. It's not an improper fraction. The top is smaller than the bottom. And I know I can divide 9 by 3, but I can't divide 16 by 3. So I think this is the simplified answer. So this is going to be our final answer here. Okay, here's our next example. We have 9 over 10 plus 3 over 5. So I'm going to rewrite those. 9 over 10 plus 3 over 5. Okay, so again, I need to change these into two equivalent fractions that have the same denominator so I can add them together. I'm first going to look at the smaller denominator, which is 5, and ask myself if I can multiply 5 times something to get 10. And the answer is yes, I can. So I'm going to multiply that times 2, which would give me 10. Whatever I did to the bottom of a fraction, I have to do to the top to keep it equivalent. So I'm also going to multiply that times 2. That means I'm keeping 9 over 10 the same, but I'm not changing it because it's already over 10. So I'm going to put the plus sign there. 3 times 2 is 6, and 5 times 2 is 10. So these are the two fractions I'm now adding together. 9 plus 6 is 15. So I'm going to write that here, and we're going to keep 10 as the denominator. Now, this is an improper fraction, so that means that I can turn it into a mixed number. I know 10 fits into 15 one time, and if I did that, I would have 5 tenths left over. Now, I can also simplify that 5 tenths. I can divide the top and the bottom by 5. So I'm going to do 1 and 1/2 as my final simplified answer. So this is a good, correct answer. This is a better correct answer, and this is the best correct answer. Okay, here is our last example for today's video. We're going to take 5 over 6, and we're going to add it to 19 over 24. Okay, so again, to add those together, they have to have the same denominator. So I'm going to start by looking at the smaller denominator of 6 to see if I can multiply that to give myself 24, the larger denominator. 6 times 4 gives me 24, so that's what I'm going to do there. I have to do the same thing to the top of the fraction to make sure it's equivalent. So 5 times 4 is 20, and 6 times 4 is 24. So 5 over 6 turns into 20 over 24. Then I'm going to add the 19 over 24. I'm not changing that because it already had a denominator of 24. I'm going to keep 24 as the denominator, but now I need to add together 20 and 19, which would be 39. Okay, so far I have an improper fraction, which I know can be turned into a mixed number. 24 would fit into 39 one time, and if I did that, I would end up with 15 24ths left over. Now, the 15 24ths I can simplify because I can divide 15 by 3 and 24 by 3. So if I do that, I end up with 1, and then 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. So the final answer, or the most simplified answer, is 1 and 5/8. All of these answers are correct. This one is correct, this one is correct, and the last one is correct. It's just the very last one is the most simplified. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope to see you in another video soon.